I call the meeting of General Committee on Democracy, Human Rights and Humanitarian Questions to order. Colleagues, the agenda was distributed. Could I invite you to adopt the agenda? There are any objections? No? The agenda is adopted. This afternoon we will continue to consider the amendments to draft resolution, implementing OSCE commitments, the role of parliaments. If we conclude this business today, then our meeting tomorrow will take place at 12 noon. The only item of business will be the election of committee officers. Please note that the deadline for nominations will be 11:30 a.m. tomorrow, as previously stated. We will begin without paragraphs 11 and 12 of our draft resolution. Does anyone want a separate vote on any of these paragraphs? No? In that case, we will vote these paragraphs together. Anyone against? No. Those who want to vote paragraph 12 and 11 and 12 together in favor, please raise your cards. Okay. Against? Two.
I think they were up before.
Yeah. Two. And there and two. Abstentions? Abstentions? No one. Okay, the result is 23 votes in favor, 2 against, 0 abstentions. We move now to Amendment 4. I call Mrs. Miliut from Lithuania to propose Amendment 4.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dear colleagues, dear ladies and gentlemen, Amendment number 4 is suggesting to insert a new paragraph, and please let me introduce the arguments why that is needed. So to begin with, prejudice and violence in politics and the public sphere includes both physical harm and sexual violence, as well as non-physical harm, threats, intimidation, shaming, withholding financial and other resources, and harassing the victims as well as their families. They can impact voters, candidates, elected officials, staffers, poll workers, civic leaders, and others in public leadership. According to the International Foundation for Electoral Systems, women are more likely to experience sexual and non-physical violence than men in political life. The Inter-Parliamentary Union has found that 82% of women parliamentarians endured sexist insults or social media threats of rape, death, or threats against their children or family members. There have also been cases of murder. Racial, ethnic, religious, national, and other minorities are also disproportionately targeted. Violence in politics and the public sphere violates political rights by creating obstacles to securely participate in political life, including voting and running for office and participating in decision-making that ensures equal rights and protection for all. Beyond only recognizing the problem and denouncing the behavior, any acts of violence should also be promptly and efficiently investigated and remediated with free speech and other human rights commitments to ensure that implementation of OSCE commitments on women's political participation in political and public life, tolerance and non-discrimination, religious freedom, national minorities and migrant populations. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak against? No, Mr. Kyriakos.
I agree with this amendment. Thank you very much.
I shall now put Amendment 4 to the vote. Those who wish to vote in favor, please raise your cards. Those who wish to vote against? 3, 4. Abstentions? 1. The result is 30 votes in favor, 4 against, 1 abstention. The Amendment 4 is adopted. I call Mr. Korniekov from Russian Federation to propose Amendment 5.
Уважаемые коллеги, поправкой предлагаем в пункте 13 после слов «насилие на почве» удалить слово «религиозный». Поясняю. Ненависть может носить политический, идеологический, националистический характер. Сосредоточение только на религиозной ненависти заужает проблему, уводит в сторону от иных опасных форм проявления социальной нетерпимости и от искомого противодействия им. Просим поддержать предложенную поправку. Спасибо.
Thank you very much. Does anyone wish to speak against? 1. Ukraine.
Уважаемый председатель, уважаемые коллеги, мы предлагаем отклонить поправку номер 5. Обратите внимание, что в оригинальном тексте слово «религиозный» имеет исключительно важное значение, поскольку нацеливает ОБСЕ на упреждение конфликтов именно на почве ненависти религиозной, нетерпимости. Мы знаем много, к сожалению, свидетельств на тех или иных территориях стран-членов ОБСЕ, когда государство является источником религиозной нетерпимости. Это в Российской Федерации запрещают свидетелей Иеговы. Это в Российской Федерации, в том числе на оккупированных украинских территориях, преследуют мусульман. Мы предлагаем оставить оригинальный текст. Спасибо.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak again? Oh, no. It's already spoke. Please, Mr. Kyriakos, your opinion.
I can accept this amendment. Thank you very much.
So the amendment is withdrawn. I shall now put the amendment to the vote. Those who wish to vote in favor? Thank you. Those who wish to vote against? Abstentions? The result is 20 votes in favor, 17 against, 3 abstentions. The Amendment 5 is adopted. We will now vote paragraph 13. Anyone as amended. Anyone against? No. Votes in, it's agreed. We need more. I call Mr. Smith from United States to propose Amendment 6.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, back in the year 2002, I offered the first supplementary item on combating anti-Semitism in the OSCE space. We joined, thankfully, with our German colleagues who are very robust and very aggressive in making sure that the resolution was passed. It led to the Berlin conference. We had asked the Bush administration at the time to convene a conference in the OSCE itself. They did. And that led to the famous Berlin conference, and we had Berlin plus 10 in 2014. But the problem has been is that despite great efforts on the part of parliamentarians to combat anti-Semitism, this cruel and centuries-old pernicious hate continues unabated in many, many parts of our countries. This resolution again reiterates our deep concern for combating anti-Semitism, and this coupled with the amendment later on, which will deal with the issue of the working definition, which I'll explain very briefly later, again gets us back on track. So this is a very friendly amendment to a great resolution, and I do hope the body will support it.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak against? No, Mr. Kyriakos.
Российская Федерация.
Oh.
Россия, Николай Брыкин. Я предлагаю вот следующее такое, значит, и пояснение хочу дать, вот слово «утвердить». Вот, я бы хотел просто пояснение дать. Участниками этого альянса, о котором речь идет, является менее половины государств ОБСЕ. Вот, и обсуждение в 2016 году показало, что определение нуждается в доработке, чтобы стать приемлемым для всех. Максимум может речь идти о продолжении дискуссий, но не утверждении. Спасибо.
Are you raising an oral amendment? No. Okay. Mr. Kyriakos.
So, with respect to different views that participating states may have on this matter...
Слово «утвердить» на продолжит обсуждение. Поменять слово просто по сути не меняется, не утвердить, а продолжится обсуждение. Ссылаясь на нормативную базу, значит, которая, значит, половина государств не является менее половины членами ОБСЕ.
First, I must ask if anyone has an objection to this oral amendment. Ukraine has an objection? The amendment is not accepted. It's withdrawn.
Me too also.
Okay. So, Mr. Kyriakos, your opinion?
For consistency reasons, it was also last year the same definition. So I accept fully this amendment.
Okay. Let's move to the vote. Those who wish to vote in favor, please raise your cards.
Вы не тактично ставите вопрос, мы не понимаем, о чем речь идет. Что мы голосуем, господин председатель? Госпожа председатель.
We are voting the amendment as was presented by Mr. Smith, because your oral amendment had an opposition, and as you know, if someone is against the oral amendment is not valid. Okay? Let's move to the vote to the amendment 6. Those who wish to vote in favor. Those who wish to vote against? Abstentions? No. Okay. The result is 32 votes in favor, 3 against, 0 abstentions. The amendment 6 is adopted. Amendment 7. I call Mr. Turov from... Oh, excuse me, a little break because our rapporteur is going and he wants to say some words to you.
Thank you very much for everything and for the whole cooperation. Unfortunately, I have to be very early in the morning in my parliament to vote for a crucial rescue package for bank system. And for this reason, I have to leave to catch the plane 6 o'clock, 6:30. So thank you very much for everything, and I hope to continue the cooperation. Thank you very much. And I am trusting to Mrs. Sando for everything.
Okay, give me. Now I start to be 3 in 1. Chair, vice chair, and rapporteur. Please cooperate with me. I'm in trouble. So excuse me, Mr. Turov, but I think it's understandable. Now you have the floor to present, to propose amendment 7.
Да. Спасибо, коллеги, ничего страшного. Единственное, хочу отметить, мы не меняем пункт 14 новым пунктом, мы дополняем в пункт 14, усиливаем словосочетания, связанные с террористической пропагандой и с их спонсорами. И оставляем пункт как есть, только добавляем касаемо террористической пропаганды дополнение в данный пункт. Спасибо.
Thank you, Mr. Turov. Does anyone wish to speak against? Ukraine, you have the floor.
Уважаемая госпожа председатель, уважаемые коллеги, в одних случаях авторы поправок пытаются размыть заложенные авторами резолюции алгоритм, направленность, и поэтому стараются сделать наши тексты максимально аморфными. Так было со словом «религиозный». В жизни религиозная нетерпимость есть, но мы это слово исключили. А теперь совершенно обратная ситуация. Обратите внимание, что предлагает поправка. Поправка предлагает записать вместо нашего общего подхода, предлагает ограничиться только лишь террористами и их спонсорами. В нашем проекте резолюции говорится о возможности использования подобной пропаганды в фейковых новостях всеми, в том числе и правительствами. А предложенная поправка номер 7, она выводит правительство из поля нашего внимания. Мы предлагаем не поддерживать поправку номер 7.
Thank you. And the understanding of the rapporteur is the democratic system is the proper term, and democracy must come before security, and for that he can't accept this amendment. So I shall now put amendment 7 to the vote. Those who wish to vote in favor? Those who wish to vote against? Abstentions? The result is 8 votes in favor, 30 votes against, 2 abstentions.
As the amendment was, we now need to vote on paragraph 14, so just to see if they can do.
Excuse
because
me?
the amendment was defeated, Chair,
Oh.
they're happy with paragraph 14.
The vote, we need to vote.
Just to say, is anyone
Yes.
against?
Is anyone against paragraph 14? No,
No, it's agreed.
it's agreed. Yes. We move now to Amendment 8. I call Mr. Dobre from Romania to propose Amendment 8.
Thank you, Mrs. President, Vice President, and Rapporteur. And my amendment is to delete paragraph 15 because the concept of unprofessional election monitoring, often promoted by host governments, is unclear and unsatisfactorily explained. The present formulation can add inappropriate pressure on the ODIHR activity and question its functional autonomy in the context of the frequent criticism of ODIHR activity on monitoring elections. Thank you.
Does anyone wish to speak against? No. The opinion of rapporteur and my opinion is that this is a huge problem in OSCE area, and not only in OSCE area, but we are discussing the OSCE area, and this paragraph must remain as it is, in our opinion. So I shall put now the Amendment 8 to the vote. Those who wish to vote in favor? Those who wish to vote against? Those who vote abstentions? So the result is 6 votes in favor, 28 against, 5 abstentions. As this amendment was adopted, was defeated, yes, we can move. And we will now take paragraphs 16 and 17 together to the vote. Does anyone want to separate the vote? No? Anyone against these paragraphs? No? The paragraphs 16 and 17 are agreed. I call now Mr. Dobre from Romanian to propose Amendment 9. Does anyone wish? Amendment 9, please, Mr. Dobre.
Thank you. I want only to change a little at the end of a paragraph which is right. It's read all OSCE citizens of OSCE participating states. There are no OSCE citizens. I propose all citizens of OSCE participating states is more correct.
And we fully agree with you, Mr. Dobre. Thank you very much for your amendment. So we shall now, anyone want to speak against? No? The opinion of rapporteur is agreeing with this amendment. So we shall now move to the vote. Those who wish to vote in favor? Those who wish to vote against? No. Abstentions? No. And the result is 37 in favor, 0 against, 0 abstentions. The Amendment 9 is adopted. We will now move to the vote on paragraph 18 as amended. Anyone against? No, it's agreed. I call now Mrs. Kinner-Nealon from Switzerland to propose Amendment 10.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Chers et chers collègues, cette résolution que nous saluons couvre la plupart des problématiques en matière de droits humains dans la zone OSCE, mis à part la prévention de la torture. Or, la torture, ce sujet est particulièrement important et doit nous être cher à toutes et tous. Je propose donc de compléter la résolution avec cet amendement et vous remercie de le soutenir.
Does anyone wish to speak against? I agree with this amendment. Thank you, Mrs. Kinner-Nielsen. I will now put this amendment to the vote. Those who wish to vote in favor? Against? Against?
No. One.
Abstentions? The amendment 10 is adopted. The result is 43 in favor, 1 against, 0 abstentions. And I call now Mr. I think he's not Mr. Wicker because he's not here. It will be Mr. Pittenger to present Amendment 11.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With this amendment, we commend the government of Uzbekistan for its noteworthy progress implementing reforms in numerous areas, bringing judiciary, respect for freedom of religion or belief, media sector, and other spheres into greater alignment with its OSCE commitments. The road of reform is long and difficult, but we encourage Uzbekistan to persevere along it with the aid of OSCE participating states and institutions. In particular, we believe it is important for Uzbekistan to continue its work to improve on freedom of religion or belief, including releasing religious prisoners and amending its laws, policies, and practices as needed. Our hope is that Uzbekistan's progress will prompt its Central Asian neighbors to undertake similar domestic reforms. In addition to serving the dignity of their peoples, such changes would facilitate the region's greater integration into the global economy and open more opportunities for cooperation with its international community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anyone wish to speak against? No. The rapporteur is in favor. It's not my thinking, but he is in favor. Is the position of Mr. Adjiani, and I shall now put Amendment 11 to the vote. Those who wish to vote in favor? Those who want those who wish to vote against? 0. Abstentions? The amendment 11 is the result of the voting is in favor 22 votes, against 0 votes, abstentions 8. The amendment is adopted. We will now take paragraphs 19 and 20 together. Does anyone want to propose separate votings? No? Anyone against? No? Paragraphs 19 and 20 are agreed to. Amendment 12. I call Dr. Fry from Canada to propose Amendment 12.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say that while I agree with the languages there already, I'm hoping that instead of just generically saying that we should reaffirm to oversee the implementation of policies related to gender equality, we should just spell out what they are. And so I'm just trying to strengthen this paragraph by saying we know what we're talking about, we're not just being generic.
Yes, and we fully agree with your proposal. Does anyone wish to speak against? No? The rapporteur is fully in favor of this amendment. I shall now put Amendment 12 to the voting. Those who wish to vote in favor? Those who wish to vote against? Are you voting, dear friends from Ukraine? Are you voting against? No, no? Okay. Abstentions? No. The result is votes in favor 35, against 0, abstentions 0. The amendment is adopted. As the amendment was to replace paragraph 21, I shall take paragraph 21 as defeated, and we therefore do not need to vote on it. Amendment 13. I call Mr. Brikin from Russian Federation to propose Amendment 13.
Спасибо, уважаемая госпожа председатель, уважаемые коллеги. Права человека и общественная безопасность – это важнейшие ценности любого государства. Вот в связи с этим в пункте 22 мы предлагаем заменить слова «подчеркивает особую значимость учета таких обязательств при возникновении серьезных обеспокоенностей в области безопасности» следующими словами. Подчеркивает, что права человека и общественная безопасность являются не противоположными, а взаимно усиливающими целями. Благодарю вас.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak against? Please.
Уважаемый председатель, уважаемые коллеги, я снова призываю быть внимательными ко всем поправкам в целях осознания, усиливают ли поправки обсуждаемый нами проект, или же, наоборот, размывают его. В случае с поправкой 13 нам предлагается формулировка, которая в случае ее принятия может служить оправданием любых нарушений прав человека в интересах государственных интересов. Как происходит в некоторых странах определение государственных интересов, мы тоже хорошо знаем. Я предлагаю отклонить эту поправку.
Thank you. The opinion of the rapporteur is that this amendment will decrease the attention given to rule of law and fundamental freedoms, and by that we cannot accept this amendment. So we move now to the vote to the amendment 13. Those who wish to vote in favor, please raise your cards. Those who wish to vote against? Abstentions? The result is votes in favor 12, votes against 32, abstentions 0. The amendment 13 is defeated. We will now vote paragraph 22. Anyone against? The paragraph 22 is agreed to. We will now vote paragraph 23. Anyone against? No. Paragraph 23 is agreed to. I call Mr. Hefilaktos from Greece to propose amendment 14.
Theophylactus. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Theophylactus.
I propose to add this phrase in paragraph 24, and these are the arguments for that. Turkey is in an emergency status since 2 years now, and that means deterioration of human rights. Many violations of human rights took place during those 2 years, including imprisonments without fair trials, dismissals from public positions, including even judges, and so on. But it's really worrying that Turkey does not respect human rights and breaches the rule of law against foreign citizens. Let me just tell you that the 2 Greek officers are detained for 4 months, 125 days, without being charged yet. And let me just tell you that in a similar case, when Greek authorities caught a Turkish citizen because of breaching the borders, we released him the next day after having a fair trial. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak against this amendment? No. And the rapporteur and me, we are fully agreeing with you. And now we shall move to vote this amendment 14. Those who wish to vote in favor? Those who wish to vote against? Abstentions?
I wanted to. Madam Chair,
Who is speaking? Yes?
I also would like to propose an oral amendment, if that is correct. Not now.
Not now. Now we are moving to the vote. You have the right time, please. Okay? The result is votes in favor 33, votes against 1, abstentions 2. Amendment 14 is adopted. We will now vote on paragraph 24 as amended. Anyone wish to speak against? Anyone against? No. paragraph 22 as amended is agreed. 24, excuse me. We will now take paragraphs 25 to 32 together. Does anyone want to separate vote? No. So we'll now take paragraphs 25 to 32 together. Anyone against? No. Paragraphs 25 and 32 are agreed. I call Mrs. Kinner-Nielen from Switzerland to propose amendment 15.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Depuis 2016, Interpol a initié des réformes internes pour mieux protéger les citoyennes et les citoyens contre des mandats d'arrêt internationaux abusifs. Parmi ces réformes, on compte la mise en place d'un groupe de travail chargé de vérifier la conformité au droit et à la qualité de l'ensemble des notices dites rouges diffusées par Interpol à la demande des autorités nationales. Ces notices visent la localisation et l'arrestation d'une personne recherchée par une juridiction ou par un tribunal international en vue de son extradition. Mais elles peuvent aussi, sans contrôle, être utilisées abusivement par des États traquant des opposants politiques. Ce travail de renforcement des contrôles est essentiel et se doit donc d'être encouragé par les États et surtout l'OSCE-PA. Je vous remercie de soutenir cet amendement.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak against? No. Of course, the abuse of red notice is a motive of concern for all of us, and we agree with this amendment. I shall now put this amendment to the vote. Those who wish to vote in favor of Amendment 15, please raise your cards. Those who wish to vote against? In Ukrainian delegation, okay. Now I understand. Abstentions. Abstentions? No. The result is votes in favor, 33. Against 3, abstentions 0. Amendment 15 is adopted. We will now take paragraphs 33 and 34 together. Does anyone want to separate the vote? No. So we'll take these two paragraphs, 33 and 34 together. Anyone against? No. Paragraphs 33 and 34 are agreed. I call again Mrs. Kinner-Nielen from Switzerland to propose amendment 16.
Merci bien. Il s'agit là d'un simple amendement rédactionnel qui n'ôte rien au contenu du texte proposé par notre rapporteur. Il vise tout simplement à supprimer le terme de catégorie, une formulation qui, appliquée à des êtres humains, nous apparaissent un peu malheureuses. Je vous remercie donc de soutenir cet amendement purement rédactionnel.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak against? No. Me and the rapporteur, we are in favor, and I shall now put amendment 16 to the vote. Please, those who wish to vote in favor, raise your cards. Those who wish to vote against? Against? 0. Abstentions? 0. The result is 40 votes in favor, 0 against, 0 abstentions. Amendment 16 is adopted. We will now vote paragraph 35 as amended. Anyone against? No. Paragraph 35 as amended is agreed. I call now Mr. Smith from the United States to propose Amendment 17.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Since 2017, approximately 1 million Muslim Uyghurs, including Kazakhs, have been arbitrarily detained in political re-education camps across Xinjiang. Uyghurs and Kazakhs interviewed about their detention have described torture, sleep deprivation, and beatings. 1 million arbitrarily detained individuals is the largest incarceration of ethnic minority population since World War II. The entire family of human rights champion Rabia Kadir, who's a good friend of mine, her sons, daughters, children, and grandchildren have all disappeared and have possibly been detained, we believe they have been, in political re-education camps. Many Uyghurs come to my office and describe disappeared and detained family members that are absolutely excruciating tales of horror. The OSCE and its member states should voice their strongest concern about the human rights abuses, especially since many of the citizens from, as I mentioned, some of the countries in the OSCE region are affected. So I ask members to vote for the amendment.
Okay. Does anyone wish to speak against? Please, have the floor.
Российская страна выступает против предложенной поправкой господином Смитом по той причине, что Китай не является государством-участником ОБСЕ. Вот если эта поправка касалась Украины и нарушения со стороны Украины прав национальных меньшинств, убийства журналистов, значит, затыкание ртом политических деятелей, которые не являются, значит, сторонниками этой власти, мы, безусловно, поддержали. Вообще, вот если убрать Китай, поставить Украину и народы русские, венгры, поляки, то это можно отнести именно к этой стране. Поэтому мы не поддерживаем данную поправку. Спасибо.
Okay. Point of order? A real point of order? I hope so.
Исключительно, госпожа председатель, исключительно по ведению. Мы не хотели бы, чтобы так вольно обращались с поправками, которые предложены нашими коллегами, и тем более в таком тоне. Мы призываем всех рассматривать поправку по сути. Спасибо.
I understand your point of order, but freedom of speech is one of the rules in this parliament. So, the opinion of rapporteur is that we are in favor of this amendment. So, I move to the vote. Those who wish to vote amendment 17 in favor, please raise your card. Against? Against? Oh, okay. Abstentions? The result is 26 votes in favor, 8 against, 6 abstentions. Amendment 17 is adopted. will now take paragraphs 36 to 41 together. Does anyone wish to separate the voting? No? Okay.
Госпожа председатель Российской Федерации Николай Брыгин, мы поддерживаем пункт 40, но хотели бы только после слова «обеспечить» добавить фразу «равное право на образование без дискриминации». Далее по тексту. Еще раз повторюсь. Пункт поддерживаем, только после слова «обеспечить» добавить фразу «равное право на образование без дискриминации». Далее все по тексту. Пункт 40.
Okay. Any objection to this oral amendment? We have one objection, so this oral amendment is not valid in this moment. We shall now move to the voting together. Anyone against? No. Paragraphs 36 and 41 are agreed. Amendment 18. I call Mr. Tsereteli from Georgia to propose Amendment 18.
Thank you very much, dear Isabel, dear Chair. So this amendment is a call on participating states to commit through a ministerial decision to promote more inclusive and representative societies and ensure a participatory process for persons with disabilities in all phases of developing legislation and policies in the spheres of political and public life, in line with the UN Convention and the rights of persons with disabilities, to create more inclusive environment, political environment for them. And I'd like to thank all colleagues who supported this amendment and also ask them to support at this time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak against this amendment? Me and the rapporteur, we are fully agreeing with you, and in my country we are moving in that sense, and it's a good amendment. So I shall now put Amendment 18 to the voting. Those who wish to vote in favor? Against? Abstentions? The result is 46 votes in favor, 0 against, 0 abstentions. The amendment is adopted. We will now vote on paragraph 42. Anyone against? No. Paragraph 42 is agreed. I call Mr. Smith from United States to propose Amendment 19.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. This amendment is the operative section to Amendment number 6 in that it asks for an action by the OSCE. I would point out to my colleagues that last year, German Minister, Chair in Office, Steinmeier, sought that this definition be part of the ministerial. 56 of the 57 countries were in agreement, and unfortunately, it did not happen. We're asking that it be attempted again this year. The special representative for the OSCE Chair in Office, Rabbi Andy Baker, has said, and I quote, "Without the working definitions guidance, we have seen how real attacks on Jewish targets are still dismissed as politically motivated incidents." Bottom line, what does the definition say? Anti-Semitism is a certain perception of Jews which may be expressed as hatred towards Jews. Rhetorical and physical manifestations of anti-Semitism are directed towards Jewish or non-Jewish individuals and or their property, toward Jewish community institutions and religious facilities. The European Parliament passed a resolution a full year ago calling for this definition. I hope we will do the same today.
Thank you very much. Does anyone wish to speak against? No? By the reasons presented before, we are fully agreeing with you. And I shall now put the amendment to the voting. Those who wish to vote in favor, please raise your cards. Against? Against? 2. Abstentions? The result is 30 votes in favor, 2 against, 0 abstentions. Amendment 19 is adopted. We will now vote on paragraph 43. Anyone against? No. Paragraph 43 is agreed. Amendment 20, I call Dr. Fry from Canada to propose Amendment 20.
Thank you very much again, Madam Chair. While I agree with what is written here on your SI 44, I just think that it's not clear enough. For instance, the way to look at the fact that we have so much social media and or aggregation of news by Facebook, etc., that is now presenting itself as news, but news must be accountable and it must be accurate. And so we feel that because most countries have legislation regulating traditional news media, but have yet to apply the same regulations across the board to the new electronic media, I think we need to make sure that we level the playing field. The same regulation should apply to traditional and to new media. And so all we're suggesting is that I put this new paragraph in that's going to read like this. And it says, calls on an OSCE participating states to take steps to strengthen national legislation to combat the growing prevalence of disinformation and propaganda by promoting high-quality journalism, developing norms and standards that apply equally to both traditional and digital platforms, and encourage accurate and diverse media content, ensuring that any effort to address disinformation and propaganda comply with international legal guarantees of the rights to freedom of expression and freedom of the media. Now, it sounds like I have removed the reference to the representatives on freedom of the media. I haven't. I'm bringing another paragraph that's going to mention that specifically.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against? No. My opinion and the opinion of the rapporteur is that we agree with these additional points to complete the paragraph, and we are very glad to accept this amendment. Now we move to the vote on the amendment 20. Those who wish to vote in favor? Conclude now, and we have an hour. Okay. Against? Abstentions? No abstentions. The result is 38 votes in favor, 2 against, 0 abstentions. The amendment 20 is adopted. As the amendment was to replace paragraph 44, I shall take paragraph 44 as defeated, and we therefore do not need to vote on it. I call now Mr. Turov from Russian Federation to propose Amendment 21.
Спасибо, госпожа председатель. Уважаемые коллеги, хочу поблагодарить коллег из Венгрии, Румынии, Сербии, Украины, из Чехии, которые поддержали наше предложение. Мы предлагаем после пункта 44 добавить следующий новый пункт. Призывает государства-участники принимать дальнейшие необходимые меры по недопущению дискриминации языков в многонациональных странах, в частности, указывает на необходимость уважения права представителей национальных меньшинств на доступ к образованию на родном языке. Спасибо.
Does anyone wish to speak against? The rapporteur is not agreeing with this amendment, so I shall put the amendment to the vote. Those who wish to vote in favor, please raise your cards. Those who wish to vote in favor, against, please, against this amendment. You are voting against? Abstentions? The result is 16 votes in favor, 15 votes against, 0 abstentions. The Amendment 21 is adopted. We will now vote paragraph 45. Anyone against? No. Paragraph 45 is agreed. I call Dr. Fry from Canada to propose.
Is there an interpretation?
Thank you, Madam Chair. My amendment actually speaks to the issue of while we have to be vigilant in combating disinformation.
Excuse me, just a moment. It's resolved problem?
Yes.
It was translation?
Yes, it
yes?
was defeated.
Okay. It was only a problem of translation in Russian language. Okay, now you can continue. Excuse me.
While much of we're discussing how we deal with disinformation and fake news, I think it's also important to remember that we have to help citizens to understand how to be literate about the new media, how to be able to discern between fake news and news that is verifiable and accountable. So I think we need to educate citizens as much as we can. So I am hoping that, in fact, we could insert the following paragraph after paragraph 45. And it says, underlines the importance. Oh, okay. I don't have to read it then. I dispense. I won't read it, but I'm hoping that you can support it, because what it's doing is to say we should in fact educate the public. And I am referring to using the representative on freedom of the media to help us in getting the tools to do so.
Of course. Does anyone wish to speak against? No. The rapporteur and me, we agree with this amendment. So I shall now put Amendment 22 to the voting. Please, those who want to vote in favor, raise your cards. Against?
I thought for a minute you were going to vote against it, guys.
Abstentions? 0. The result is 43 in favor, 0 against, 0 abstentions. Amendment 22 is adopted. I call, it's not Mr. Wicker, it will be Mr. Pittenger from United States to propose Amendment 23.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The 1992 Helsinki Summit document established a high bar for excluding persons or organizations from OSCE meetings. According to that summit agreement, the OSCE default mode is openness and access. That standard was built on the increased transparency introduced during the Vienna follow-up meeting 1986 to 1989, which Austria so successfully hosted. OSCE modalities provide that only persons or organizations which use violence or publicly condone terrorism or the use of violence may be excluded, and these are the only criteria that the OSCE has ever used to exclude civil society from the OSCE. This amendment recognizes that criteria for limiting participation, while emphasizing the importance of ensuring the broadest possible contribution from NGOs and ensure full and unrestricted exchange of information and opinions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anyone wish to speak against? No. And me and the rapporteur, we are in favor, and I shall now put this amendment to the vote. Amendment 23 to the vote. Those who wish to vote in favor, please raise your cards. Those who wish to vote against? Abstentions? Abstentions? No. Votes in favor 35, votes against 1, abstentions 0. The amendment 23 is adopted. We will now vote paragraph 46. Anyone against? No. Paragraph 46 is agreed. We will now take paragraphs 47 to 55 together. Does anyone want to separate? 27 to 53 together. Does anyone want a separate vote? No? So I'll take paragraphs 47 to 47 to 53 together. Anyone against? Paragraphs 47 to 53 agreed. I call Mrs. Kinner-Nealon from Switzerland to propose amendment 24.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Par cet amendement, il ne s'agit pas de vouloir minimiser les problèmes auxquels les pays des Balkans de l'Ouest sont confrontés. La montée du nationalisme, de la polarisation et des tensions sociales et politiques s'observent toutefois aussi ailleurs dans la zone OSCE. Nous toutes et tous sont concernés, nous toutes et tous devons y être particulièrement vigilants, y compris lorsqu'il s'agit de nos propres pays. C'est pour cette raison-là que nous vous proposons cet amendement et je remercie toutes et tous les collègues qui ont signé cet amendement. Merci.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak against? No. The rapporteur would like to add, after Western Balkans, the phrase "and other countries which." It's an oral amendment.
Does anybody object to an oral amendment?
Any objections? You are objecting. Okay, this oral amendment is not valid. And now we shall put the amendment, original amendment to the voting. So, amendment 24 to the vote. Votes in favor? Okay. Against? Abstentions? Votes in favor 33, against 3, abstentions 3. So the amendment 24 is adopted. We will now vote paragraph 54. Anyone against? No. Paragraph 54 is agreed as amended. We will now vote paragraph 55. Anyone against? Paragraph 55 is agreed. I call Mr. Turov from Russian Federation to propose amendment 25.
Спасибо, госпожа председатель. Уважаемые коллеги, спасибо за поддержку Франции, Мальты, Украины, Чехии. Мы хотели бы после пункта 55 добавить следующий новый пункт. Призывает представителя ОБСЕ по вопросам свободы средств массовой информации акцентировать недопустимость дискриминации журналистов, оказания на них давления и иных методов неправомерного ограничения возможностей для работы представителей СМИ, которые в настоящее время все шире применяются в ряде стран. Спасибо.
Thank you very much. Does anyone wish to speak against? Monsieur Alisa?
Oui, Madame le Président, c'est pas vraiment m'exprimer contre, c'est pour proposer en fait un amendement oral à cet amendement 25, tout simplement parce que je vais défendre dans quelques minutes l'amendement 26 qui ressemble étrangement à l'amendement 25. Donc je vous pourrais proposer le texte suivant. Fusionner les amendements 25 et 26, ça donnerait un nouveau paragraphe après le 55, demande aux représentants de l'OSCE pour la liberté des médias de dénoncer publiquement les atteintes à la liberté d'expression, à la liberté des médias et à la sécurité des journalistes, dans la mesure où il est inadmissible d'exercer une discrimination ou des pressions à l'égard des journalistes et d'employer d'autres méthodes pour restreindre indûment leur capacité à travailler, ce qui est de plus en plus courant dans plusieurs pays. Si cet amendement oral était accepté, je retirerai évidemment l'amendement numéro 26. Merci, Madame.
Please conclude. Any objection to this oral amendment? No. So, in that condition, I'm going to put the amendment 25 as amended by the oral amendment to the vote. Those?
It's the oral amendment and then the amendment if it gets amended.
Okay. Let's vote the oral amendment. Those who wish to vote in favor of this oral amendment? Those who wish to vote against? No. Pérez, ¿estás votando contra? No. Gracias. Abstentions? No. So, the result is votes in favor of this oral amendment presented by Mr. Alizard. In favor 33, against 0, abstentions 0. The oral amendment is adopted, and now I shall put the amendment 25 as amended by this oral amendment to the vote. Those who wish to vote in favor, please raise your cards. Against? No one against. Abstentions? No abstentions. So, the result is votes in favor 42, votes against 0, abstentions 0. The amendment is adopted. The next amendment is withdrawn. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Alizard. We will now vote on paragraph 56. Anyone against? Paragraph 56 is agreed. We will now take paragraphs 57 to 59 together. Does anyone want to separate for these paragraphs? No? Thank you. So we'll take paragraphs 55 to 57 to 59 together. Anyone against? No. Paragraph 57 to 59 are agreed. That concludes the consideration of amendments to paragraphs. Thank you very much. I propose that now formally we move to a vote on draft resolution as amendment. Those who wish to vote in favor of this draft resolution, please raise your cards. Against? Against? Abstentions? 2 abstentions. The result is 47 votes in favor, 0 against, 2 abstentions. The draft resolution as amended is adopted. Thank you for your cooperation, and as mentioned at the start of the meeting, we will meet tomorrow at 12 noon tomorrow in this room for the elections of our committee of officers for the 28th Parliamentary Assembly of OSCE. The deadline for nomination is 11:30 a.m. tomorrow. Thank you very much.